The story of the Aztec Empire begins with the Mexica people, a nomadic tribe that migrated from a mythical homeland called Aztlan. This migration, shrouded in legend and mystery, speaks to the complex interplay between myth and history that characterizes much of our understanding of Aztec culture. The Mexica, as the Aztecs called themselves, were not the first to inhabit the Valley of Mexico. When they arrived in the early 14th century, they encountered a landscape already rich with established city-states and cultures. The region had been home to great civilizations before, including Teotihuacan and the Toltecs, whose legacies would significantly influence Aztec culture. According to their own historical accounts, preserved in codices and oral traditions, the Mexica left Aztlan under the guidance of their patron deity, Huitzilopochtli. This god of war and the sun instructed them to found a great city where they saw an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a snake. Their journey was not easy. The Mexica wandered for generations, facing hostility from established peoples and struggling to find a place to settle. They served as mercenaries for other city-states, gradually building their military prowess and learning the political landscape of the region. Finally, in 1325, they witnessed the prophesied sign on an island in Lake Texcoco. Here, they founded Tenochtitlan, the city that would become the heart of their empire. The symbolism of the eagle, snake, and cactus remains a powerful image in Mexican culture to this day, featured prominently on the country's flag. The founding of Tenochtitlan was just the beginning. The early years of the city were challenging. The island location, while defensible, presented numerous difficulties. The Mexica had to develop innovative agricultural techniques to feed their growing population. They created chinampas, or floating gardens, by piling up layers of vegetation, mud, and lake sediment. These artificial islands dramatically increased the arable land available and would become a hallmark of Aztec agricultural ingenuity. As Tenochtitlan grew, so did its influence. The Mexica formed strategic alliances with neighboring city-states, most notably Texcoco and Tlacopan. In 1428, these three powers formalized their relationship into the Triple Alliance, which we now recognize as the true beginning of the Aztec Empire. The formation of the Triple Alliance marked a turning point in Mesoamerican history. Under the leadership of the fourth Aztec ruler, Itzcoatl, and his brilliant advisor Tlacopan, the Aztecs began a period of rapid expansion. They conquered neighboring territories, demanding tribute and establishing a complex system of political and economic control. This expansion was not merely a matter of military might. The Aztecs were skilled diplomats and politicians. They often allowed conquered rulers to maintain their positions, provided they acknowledged Aztec supremacy and paid regular tribute. This system allowed the Aztecs to control a vast empire with a relatively small administrative apparatus. At the top of Aztec society stood the Huitzilopochtli, often translated as Great Speaker. This was the supreme ruler of the empire, a position that combined political and religious authority. The Huitzilopochtli was considered a living embodiment of the god Huitzilopochtli, and his power was absolute. Below the Huitzilopochtli was a class of nobles, or pili. These individuals held various important positions in government, the military, and religious institutions. The nobility was not a closed class. Commoners could sometimes rise to noble status through exceptional military service or other great achievements. The bulk of Aztec society consisted of commoners, or Masahualtin. These were farmers, artisans, and traders who formed the backbone of the empire's economy. Despite their lower status, Masahualtin had several rights, including the ability to own property and send their children to school. At the bottom of Aztec society were slaves, or Tlacopan. However, Aztec slavery was notably different from many other historical forms of slavery. Slaves could own property, marry, and even owned slaves themselves. Many people entered slavery voluntarily as a way to pay off debts, and children of slaves were born free. The Aztec system of governance was highly organized and efficient. The empire was divided into tributary provinces, each required to pay regular tribute to Tenochtitlan. This tribute took many forms, including food, luxury goods, and people for sacrifice. Central to Aztec governance was the Calpulli system. Calpulli were organizational units that functioned somewhat like clans or neighborhoods. Each Calpulli had its own lands, temples, and schools, and was responsible for providing military units in times of war. The Aztecs had a sophisticated legal system, with courts at various levels to handle different types of cases. Judges, or tecutli, were appointed by the Huitzilopochtli and were expected to be of impeccable character. Punishments for crimes could be severe, often including slavery or death, but the system also recognized mitigating factors such as youth or intoxication. Education was highly valued in Aztec society. All children, regardless of social status, received some form of education. Boys and girls were educated separately, with girls typically learning domestic skills at home while boys attended formal schools. There were two main types of schools, the Telpakali, which focused on military training and practical skills, and the Kalmakak, which provided a more academic education including history, astronomy, theology, and statesmanship. The Kalmakak was primarily for children of nobles, but exceptionally talented commoner children could sometimes gain admission. The Aztec economy was based on a combination of agriculture, tribute, and trade. Markets were a central feature of Aztec life, with the Great Market at Tlatelolco being particularly famous. Here, goods from all over the empire and beyond were bought and sold. The Aztecs used a variety of items as currency, including cacao beans for smaller transactions and quetzalli, cotton cloaks, for larger ones. They did not use metal currency, although gold and silver were highly valued for their beauty and religious significance. Trade was conducted by professional merchants known as paktika. These individuals not only engaged in commerce but also served as spies and diplomats for the empire, bringing back valuable information from distant lands. The spiritual beliefs of the Aztecs permeated every aspect of their lives and played a crucial role in shaping their society and culture. The Aztec religion was polytheistic, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses each responsible for different aspects of the natural world and human life. At the center of this pantheon was Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun, who was particularly revered by the Mexica people. Other major deities included Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god associated with wind, air, and learning, and Tezcatlipoca, the god of night, sorcery, and destiny. Each of these gods had complex mythologies and was associated with specific rituals and ceremonies. The Aztec creation myth tells of multiple worlds, or suns, that existed before the current one. Each of these worlds was created and then destroyed by the gods. The current world, the fifth sun, was created when the god Nanahuatzin sacrificed himself by jumping into a divine fire, emerging as the sun. This myth underscored the Aztec belief in the necessity of sacrifice to maintain the cosmos. One of the most controversial aspects of Aztec religion, human sacrifice. To the Aztecs, human sacrifice was not an act of cruelty, but a sacred duty necessary to keep the universe in balance. They believed that the gods had sacrificed themselves to create the world, and that humanity owed a blood debt in return. Sacrifice took many forms in Aztec religion. The most famous was the removal of the heart, which was seen as the most precious offering one could make to the gods. However, other forms of sacrifice included decapitation, drowning, and ritual combat. It's important to note that while human sacrifice was a significant part of Aztec religion, its frequency and scale have often been exaggerated in popular accounts. The Aztec calendar played a crucial role in religious life. The Aztecs actually used two calendars simultaneously, a 260-day ritual calendar called the Tonalpwali and a 365-day solar calendar called the Xiapawali. These calendars intersected to form a 52-year cycle, at the end of which the Aztecs performed the new fire ceremony, a ritual of renewal and purification. Aztec priests were highly respected members of society. They underwent rigorous training and were expected to lead lives of austerity and self-sacrifice. Priests were responsible for performing rituals, interpreting omens, and maintaining the complex religious calendar. The Templo Mayor, the great temple at the heart of Tenochtitlan, was the center of Aztec religious life. This massive pyramid, dedicated to both Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc, was the site of many important ceremonies and sacrifices. Its ruins, excavated in the heart of modern Mexico City, continue to provide valuable insights into Aztec religion and culture. The Aztecs believed in multiple afterlives, with a person's destiny after death determined not by their actions in life, but by the manner of their death. Warriors who died in battle and women who died in childbirth, for example, were believed to accompany the sun on its daily journey across the sky. Aztec art was characterized by its vibrant colors, intricate designs, and powerful symbolism. Sculpture was a particularly important art form, with monumental stone carvings adorning temples and public spaces. One of the most famous examples is the Stone of the Sun, often mistakenly called the Aztec calendar stone, which depicts the Aztec cosmos and concepts of time. Featherwork was another highly prized art form. Skilled artisans created elaborate headdresses, shields, and cloaks using brilliantly colored feathers from tropical birds. These items were symbols of high status and were often worn by nobles and priests during important ceremonies. Aztec painters created colorful murals on the walls of temples and palaces, depicting gods, historical events, and natural scenes. They also produced codices, accordion-folded books made from bark paper or deer skin, which recorded historical, religious, and scientific information. Poetry and song held a special place in Aztec culture. The Aztecs called poetry flower and song, and believed it to be one of the few ways humans could express fundamental truths about the universe. Many Aztec poems have survived to this day, providing valuable insights into their worldview and aesthetics. Music and dance were integral parts of Aztec religious and social life. They used a variety of instruments, including drums, flutes, and rattles. Dance was not merely entertainment but a form of worship and ritual, with different dances performed for specific gods or occasions. In terms of daily life, the majority of Aztecs were farmers. They cultivated a variety of crops, with maize, corn, being the most important. The innovative Chinampa system allowed them to reclaim land from the lake surrounding Tenochtitlan, creating highly fertile plots for intensive agriculture. The typical Aztec diet consisted mainly of maize, beans, and squash, supplemented with chili peppers, tomatoes, and various fruits. Meat was less common but included turkey, duck, dog, and fish. The Aztecs also consumed insects and algae as sources of protein. Aztec clothing varied based on social status. Commoners typically wore simple garments made of maguey fiber, while nobles wore elaborate cotton clothing dyed in bright colors and adorned with jewelry. Certain clothing items and colors were restricted to specific social classes or roles. Education was highly valued in Aztec society. As mentioned earlier, all children received some form of education, either at home or in formal schools. This education included practical skills, religious instruction, and for some, more advanced subjects like history, astronomy, and poetry. Sports and games played an important role in Aztec culture. The most famous of these was the ball game, played on a specially constructed court. This game had deep religious significance and was sometimes associated with human sacrifice. Family life was central to Aztec society. Marriage typically occurred at a young age and was arranged by parents with the help of matchmakers. While men could practice polygamy if they could afford it, Most marriages were monogamous. Hygiene was important to the Aztecs. They bathed frequently and used steam baths similar to saunas. Tenochtitlan had an advanced system of aqueducts and sewers, which impressed the Spanish when they first arrived. Under the rule of Aztec, who reigned from 1486 to 1502, the empire reached its territorial peak. Aztec was a skilled military leader who led campaigns as far south as Guatemala and as far north as the Huastec region. These conquests brought vast wealth into Tenochtitlan in the form of tribute. Aztec was also a great builder. He expanded the Templo Mayor and constructed numerous other temples and public buildings. Under his rule, Tenochtitlan became one of the largest and most impressive cities in the world, with a population estimated at 200,000 to 300,000 people. However, this period of expansion also sowed the seeds of future conflict. Many of the conquered peoples resented Aztec rule and the heavy tribute demands placed upon them. This resentment would later play a crucial role in the Spanish conquest. Aztec was succeeded by Moctezuma II, also known as Moctezuma Xocoyotzin, who would be the last independent ruler of the Aztec Empire. Moctezuma II continued the policies of his predecessor, but also faced growing challenges, including resistance from unconquered city-states like Tlaxcala. It was during Moctezuma II's reign that the Aztecs first encountered the Spanish. In 1519, Hernán Cortés landed on the coast of Mexico with a small force of about 600 men. The arrival of the Spanish marked the beginning of the end for the Aztec Empire. Several factors contributed to the Spanish victory over the Aztecs. First, the Spanish had significant technological advantages, including horses, steel weapons, and gunpowder, all of which were unknown to the Aztecs. These technologies gave the Spanish a crucial edge in battle. Secondly, the Spanish were able to exploit existing divisions within the Aztec Empire. Many of the subject peoples, resentful of Aztec rule and heavy tribute demands, saw the Spanish as potential liberators. The Tlaxcalans, in particular, became crucial allies to the Spanish, providing them with thousands of warriors. Thirdly, the Aztecs were devastated by diseases brought by the Spanish, particularly smallpox. Having no immunity to these old-world diseases, the Aztec population was decimated, weakening their ability to resist the invasion. Finally, there were cultural and religious factors at play. Some Aztecs, including Moctezuma II himself, initially believed that Cortés might be the returning god Quetzalcoatl, which led to hesitation and confusion in the early stages of the encounter. The conquest itself was a complex series of events. After landing on the coast, Cortés marched inland, forming alliances with local peoples along the way. He arrived in Tenochtitlan in November 1519 and was initially welcomed by Moctezuma II. However, relations soon soured. In June 1520, tensions erupted into violence during the Tlaxcala festival. This led to what became known as the Noche Triste, Sad Night, when the Spanish were forced to flee Tenochtitlan. Cortés regrouped, gathered more indigenous allies, and laid siege to Tenochtitlan. The siege lasted for months, with the Aztecs putting up fierce resistance. However, cut off from supplies and ravaged by smallpox, the city finally fell on August 13, 1521. The fall of Tenochtitlan marked the end of the Aztec Empire. The Spanish proceeded to dismantle Aztec political structures and impose their own rule. Many aspects of Aztec culture were suppressed or destroyed, though others persisted, blending with Spanish culture to form the basis of colonial Mexican society. The aftermath of the conquest was devastating for the indigenous population. Beyond the immediate violence of war, the introduction of European diseases led to a demographic collapse. It's estimated that the population of central Mexico declined by up to 90% in the century following the conquest. The Spanish established a new colonial order, with themselves at the top of the social hierarchy. They implemented the encomienda system, which granted Spanish colonists the labor of indigenous people in exchange for their protection and conversion to Christianity. This system, while theoretically meant to protect the indigenous population, often led to exploitation and abuse. Despite the efforts of the Spanish to eradicate indigenous beliefs and practices, many aspects of Aztec culture survived. The process of religious syncretism led to the blending of Catholic and indigenous beliefs, creating unique cultural expressions that persist to this day. The Nahuatl language, spoken by the Aztecs, continued to be widely used throughout the colonial period and remains alive today, spoken by over 1 million people in Mexico. Many Nahuatl words have been incorporated into Mexican Spanish and even into English, such as chocolate, tomato, and avocado. Aztec agricultural practices, particularly the cultivation of maize, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters, continued to form the basis of the Mexican diet. The Chinampa system of agriculture persisted in some areas well into the colonial period. In the realm of medicine, many traditional Aztec remedies and medicinal plants were adopted by the Spanish and incorporated into colonial medical practices. Some of these traditional medicines continue to be used in Mexico today. The colonial period also saw the production of important documents that preserved much of what we know about Aztec history and culture. Indigenous scribes, trained in European writing systems, recorded their history and traditions in works such as the Florentine Codex, compiled under the supervision of the Franciscan friar Bernardino de Sahagun. As the colonial period progressed, a new Mexican identity began to emerge, one that incorporated both indigenous and Spanish elements. This process of mestizage, or racial and cultural mixing, would play a crucial role in shaping modern Mexican identity. The Aztec past plays a central role in modern Mexican national identity. The eagle devouring a snake while perched on a cactus, the legendary sign that guided the Aztecs to Tenochtitlan, is featured prominently on the Mexican flag and coat of arms. Archaeological excavations continue to uncover new insights into Aztec life and culture. The ongoing excavations at the Templo Mayor site in Mexico City have revealed a wealth of information about Aztec religious practices and material culture. In 2015, archaeologists discovered a massive ceremonial platform known as the Huaytzimpantli, featuring thousands of human skulls, providing new evidence about the scale and nature of Aztec sacrificial practices. Modern technology is also revolutionizing our understanding of the Aztec world. LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology, has been used to map ancient Aztec sites hidden beneath dense vegetation, revealing the full extent of Aztec urban planning and architecture. Genetic studies are providing new insights into the demographic history of the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican peoples. These studies are helping to clarify patterns of migration, population size, and the impact of European diseases on indigenous populations. The Aztec legacy continues to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers around the world. From the murals of Diego Rivera to contemporary novels and films, Aztec themes and imagery remain a powerful source of creative inspiration. In recent years, there has been increased interest in Aztec cuisine. Chefs and food historians are rediscovering and reimagining traditional Aztec ingredients and cooking methods, contributing to a renaissance in Mexican cuisine. The story of the Aztecs also continues to provoke important discussions about colonialism, cultural contact, and historical memory. Debates about how to interpret and commemorate this history reflect broader conversations about identity, heritage, and reconciliation in Mexico and beyond. We are left with a picture of a sophisticated, complex civilization that made significant contributions to world culture. From their innovative agricultural techniques to their profound philosophical and poetic traditions, the Aztecs left a lasting mark on human history. Their rapid rise to power and equally dramatic fall serve as a powerful historical narrative, reminding us of the dynamic nature of human societies and the profound impacts that cultural encounters can have. Looking to uncover and interpret the Aztec past, we gain not only a better understanding of this remarkable civilization, but also new perspectives on our own world and its history.